I died for the 5th time beneath a sky that didn't belong to humanity anymore. The air was always the first thing I noticed. Burnt, metallic, rotting. Like the world itself had started decomposing before it even finished dying. The city around me wasn't a city anymore. It was a graveyard built from concrete, twisted steel, and bones no one bothered to bury. I had survived 5 waves. Most people didn't even make it past the first. And still, I died. System notice. Final record saved. Restarting timeline. I woke up choking on air that didn't hurt. My lungs worked. My body, whole. No blood, no broken bones. Too early. 5 months too early. This time, I whispered, staring at my hands, steady for the first time in what felt like forever. I don't fail. Before the world ended, I had already lost my brother, not to death, to me. After our parents died, I took everything on myself. Provider, protector, the one who held everything together. I thought that's what I was supposed to do. But somewhere along the way, taking care of him turned into controlling him. Be better. Don't waste time. Don't end up like me. I meant it as love. Eli heard it as judgment. We didn't break all at once. It was slower than that. Quiet. Subtle. Until one day there was just distance. A gap neither of us crossed. And when the world finally ended, I never got the chance to fix it. This time, I will. I tore my life apart in less than a week. Sold everything. Apartment, car, anything that tied me down. Then I did something that would have sounded insane to anyone else. I borrowed everything I could, maxed credit cards, opened loans, pulled from every line available, money I knew I would never repay. Because I knew something no one else did. In 5 months, money won't mean anything. But I didn't waste it. I planned. Small shipments, different suppliers, staggered deliveries so nothing drew attention. Food, tools, solar equipment, water filtration. Each purchase looked harmless. Together, they built survival. I chose the land from memory, a place that lasted longer than most. Low population, open visibility, easy to defend if you knew how. I bought it immediately, and then I built. Slow, careful, nothing that screamed preparation. From the outside, it looked normal. A small structure, sustainable living, maybe even a little off-grid. But underneath, reinforced walls, hidden supports, power systems disguised as eco-friendly upgrades, water reserves masked as agricultural setups. This wasn't a home. It was a future I refused to lose again. It came back late at night, just like before. System initializing. Then something new happened. Error detected, hidden function unlocked, skill acquired, echo memory. And suddenly, I saw it, a moment from before, a choice I made, one that got me killed. Then everything snapped back into place. So I don't repeat it, I muttered. Good. Because there was one mistake I wasn't making again. Eli. I didn't force my way back into his life. I didn't have the right to. So I rebuilt it the only way I could. Quietly. I paid off things he never told me about. Fixed problems before they reached him. Showed up, but never pushed. No orders, no pressure. Just being there. At first, he barely tolerated it. Then, he stopped shutting the door in my face. So when I finally said it, "Come with me," he didn't say yes, but he didn't walk away either. And when things started feeling off in the world, he came to see it himself. Eli stood there, looking at everything I built. The panels, the water systems, the supplies, the lies that only made sense if you knew the truth. "You really think something's coming?" he asked. I shook my head. "I don't think." That changed everything. He turned to me. "Then explain." I didn't tell him about dying or restarting. Some truths don't build trust. They destroy it. So I told him what mattered. The world doesn't collapse all at once, I said. It comes in waves. Waves? 5, each worse than the last. I stepped closer, making sure he heard every word. First wave starts like a disease, fever, confusion. People think it's curable. It's not. They turn, fast, violent, but still human enough to hesitate. His jaw tightened. And the second? That's when everything goes dark. I pointed toward the solar setup. No power, no communication. Cities fall in days. Panic does the rest. And the others? I hesitated. Then I chose honesty. Third wave, they evolve. Stronger, faster. Some of them hunt. Fourth wave, they think. He stiffened. Think? Not like us, but enough. Traps, coordination, ambushes. Silence settled between us. Heavy, real. Fifth wave. I stopped. Even now, it felt like dying all over again. You don't survive it by luck. He watched me for a long time, looking for doubt, for a crack, for anything that made this sound like a lie. I gave him nothing. So you're preparing for all of that? He asked. I already have. He looked around again. This time he understood. And you're sure? I met his eyes. I've never been more sure of anything. That's when it changed. Not when I asked. Not when he came. But now, when he believed me. He exhaled slowly. If I stay, we do this together. No orders. No control. I nodded immediately. Together. 3 weeks later. The world broke. Hospitals collapsed. Cities fell. People ran, then turned. Eli and I stood at the edge of the base, watching smoke rise into the sky, watching the beginning of the end. Echo memory activated. Something was wrong. Too fast. Too early. A figure in the distance stumbled, then sprinted. Not like before. Not like it should. They're evolving already, I said. Eli looked at me, tension sharp in his voice. That wasn't in your waves. No. Which meant one thing. This timeline wasn't the same. I turned toward the gate, my grip tightening. Then we don't follow what's coming. I looked at him, my brother. This time, we stood together. We stay ahead of it. And as the world collapsed again, I prepared to fight a future that was no longer predictable, which meant one thing. This time, surviving wouldn't be enough. The world didn't collapse in a single moment. I watched it come apart piece by piece, unraveling, and I refused to be unprepared when it reached us. The first week after the outbreak changed everything. Preparation wasn't enough anymore. Now, it was defense. I moved fast, but I didn't rush. Panic gets people killed faster than anything out there. Reinforce the outer fence, I told Eli, handing him a bundle of steel wiring. Not just height, layer it. If they push, it needs to hold, not just slow them. He didn't argue. That still felt different. We worked side by side. I reinforced the entry points with steel plating we'd set aside months ago. Dug shallow trench lines just beyond the fence. Nothing deep enough to trap, but enough to break momentum. Anything that disrupted movement mattered. Along the perimeter, I set noise traps. Crude, simple, cans, scrap metal, anything that would rattle if something touched it. Inside, I restructured everything. Weapons near exits, medical supplies centralized, food split into multiple locations. Redundancy, I reminded him. If we lose one section, we don't lose everything. Eli wiped sweat from his forehead, glancing toward the tree line. You really think they'll come this far already? I followed his gaze. They don't think like people anymore, I said, but they move, and movement spreads. I let that sit for a moment before adding, which is why we don't wait for them to find us. The next morning, we left the base, not for supplies, for information. The world outside felt wrong, too quiet in places that should have been alive. too loud where nothing should have been moving. Eli walked beside me, gripping a crowbar like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. "Feels like it's waiting," he muttered. "It is," I said. We avoided roads, stayed along tree lines, moved through blind angles and broken sight lines. I raised my hand. Eli froze instantly. Good. Figures stumbled into view. One, then two, then more. "That's them?" Eli whispered. I nodded. "First level." He frowned. "Level?" I kept my eyes on them as I spoke. "You won't survive if you treat them all the same," I said quietly. "They change. And when they do, it shows." He leaned in slightly. "How?" I pointed subtly. "Their eyes, their skin, the way they move. They're not random. I'd learned this the hard way, more than once. White, newly turned pale, unfocused, movements unstable. They react more than they hunt, slow, weak, alone, manageable. In groups, they'll overwhelm you. Yellow, awakened muscles tighter, faster reactions. They start noticing movement, tracking it. Orange, hunters' controlled posture, sharper movement, focused eyes. This is where people stop surviving in groups. Red, leaders strong, fast, deliberate. They don't just attack," I said, keeping my voice low. "They direct." Eli swallowed. "And above that?" I didn't answer right away. "You don't want to meet those." We didn't engage. There was no reason to. I signaled, and we slipped into a collapsed building nearby. Then, the ground started to shift, not from impact, from numbers. Eli's breathing hitched as they passed. Dozens, then hundreds, moving together, not scattered, flowing, like a current pulling everything with it. "That's not normal, is it?" he whispered. "No," I said, narrowing my eyes. I watched carefully. "They're not drifting." A cold realization settled in. They're going somewhere. That was new, and new meant unpredictable. Unpredictable meant dangerous. We moved after they passed, faster now, focused. The warehouse sat at the edge of an industrial zone, large, quiet, still standing, good for supplies. Better for getting killed if you weren't careful. Inside, the air felt dead, heavy, still. Then, movement. A white level stumbled between the shelves. I moved before it could react. One strike, clean, down. Another came from the side. Eli hesitated, then committed. The crowbar hit hard. The body dropped. We both went still, listening. Nothing. Then, a soft chime. System notice. Target eliminated, experience gained. I exhaled slowly. "It's starting." Eli blinked. "What is?" I glanced at my hands. The system. The warehouse went silent. Not empty. Silent. The kind that presses against your ears, like something is holding its breath right along with you, watching, waiting. I knew something was wrong the moment the leader didn't move. It didn't lunge, didn't rush, didn't even acknowledge the terrified man the way the others would have. Instead, it turned, slowly, deliberately, toward me. The worker froze where he crouched behind the crates. I could hear it from where I was. His breathing, uneven and shaking, his hands scraping faintly against the floor. He didn't run, didn't scream. He couldn't. The leader stepped forward, one step, then another. Not dragging, not stumbling, walking. Beside me, Eli's grip tightened around his weapon. "Why isn't it killing him?" he whispered. I didn't answer, because I didn't know, and not knowing anymore. That was worse than anything I remembered. The creature stopped in front of the man, close enough to touch, its head tilted slightly. Then it leaned in and breathed. A slow, deliberate inhale, like it was smelling him, testing him, judging him. The man locked up completely. Fear turned him into stone. Then the creature paused. Its head shifted, and it looked back, at me, at Eli. Its mouth stretched, too wide, Not hunger, not instinct. Something else. Something aware.